Hello guys, I hope y'all are doing well. Today I wanted to make a hopefully quick video. It has to do with what I consider is the biggest mistake I did as a mainly self-taught developer. So just to clarify before going through my points and everything is that this is an opinion of mine and it is an open-ended discussion, we could say. Well, in reality, I'm talking more about the mistake, but I'm also giving some opinions and some recommendations that can be criticized. So yeah, feel free to disagree or add to it. So my biggest mistake is learning the how without the why. It sounds poetic, but to give you more context, self-taught developers are usually always learning new languages, frameworks, and tools. However, we often lack an understanding of the underlying reasons for using those languages, frameworks, or tools. The issue arises because we lack usually formal education, or at least a comprehensive one that we can spend a lot of time just learning, because instead we tend to opt for more practical courses or resources. For instance, many silly bootcamps that I consider prefer to start by teaching HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, when in reality a good bootcamp or any sort of course that is related to computer science as a whole or software as a whole should prioritize first teaching computer, mathematics, and logic first, and even just by a little bit. But just to make sense of what programming really is. Unfortunately, these fundamentals are often overlooked because they are not flashy and consequently don't sell. Similarly, for self-taught individuals that are not in bootcamps, the focus is primarily on creating projects and completing tasks, leaving little time for reflection on the why behind our actions or the methods that we use on any sort of programming language. This mixture of factors contributes to, we could say, the mediocrity of many self-taught and bootcamp developers, myself included. But why mediocre? First, let's define mediocre. It's along the lines of only of moderate quality or not very good. What's associated with bootcamp and self-taught developers is speed. And there's a famous saying of nothing good comes quick. The ability to produce a product or an app from scratch after just 6 months of learning is indeed impressive. Well, less impressive nowadays because we have AI and it can just print out a whole app, but you get what I'm saying. However, this speed often comes at the expense of depth and structure. While you may know how to apply or use various languages and frameworks, you might lack the full context or understanding of the underlying principles such as computer fundamentals, mathematics, or logic, which are typically taught in more extensive computer science programs. I wrote the script about 6 months ago without considering AI much. However, after reviewing it, I realized that what I just shared and what I'm about to share makes much more sense in the context of AI advancements. As AI progresses, it becomes clear that the choice of language, framework, or platforms matters less, since AI can quickly generate fully functional front-end pages and back-end systems on demand. So in this AI-powered world, what role do programmers play? Like, why are we needed? Like, why are people still studying computer science or programming in general? Our value lies in structuring that output. We can also make the output, but with AI nowadays, we can just create output from just a prompt. And that value of a structure ensuring logic, readability, maintainability, and basically a whole programming scheme, system design, and all of that comes in that structured process that humans usually need to do. It's what will make programmers the most valuable, because it's easy to ask an AI to generate an app and simply copy and paste the code, but this approach often leads to many problems down the line. Many developers revisit their projects months later only to find themselves completely lost. If an app or solution is created as quickly as possible with little structure, minimal planning for future expansion, and no clear documentation or comments to help others and even yourself even more understand the code, then the worth of the programmer is zero, and AI will inevitably replace such programmers. The human touch, thoughtful, architecture, clear communication, and a focus on maintainability remains essential, and I predict that it will be in even greater demand in the future as spaghetti AI generated code inevitably catches up to companies. So, what can be done to fix the mistake of learning the how without the why? Well, it is as simply as shifting the focus from how things work to understanding why they work. Fundamentals aren't there just for the sake of it. They are the foundation for understanding how everything in the field operates, or well, more with computers, because software needs hardware to work. Otherwise, software wouldn't be a thing. A CS graduate can leverage their knowledge tenfold compared to a self-taught or a bootcamp developer who lacks fundamental understanding. There shouldn't be job titles like JavaScript developer or React developer. These are merely tools and languages. Every language or framework operates on similar principles with differences primarily in efficiencies and features and sometimes the structure. In an ideal world where people invest time in understanding the why, all job positions should be titled software engineer, front-end developer, back-end developer, network engineer, cloud engineer, etc. There shouldn't be as much disparity as there is now, because a true software developer is dynamic, not tied to a single language or framework, but capable of applying their knowledge across various contexts. They may only need to briefly learn the syntax and specific implementations of a particular language or framework, but it is just that. Like I said before, every programming language shares the same principles, but the way you do for loops, variables, maybe data structures, and also algorithms are applied differently. But the difference is just on the syntax and how the programming language handles it itself. But it's all the same: loops, data structures, algorithms, and so on. So to end with some actionable steps, if you have the time, resources, and passion to dedicate your life to programming, or more specifically computer science as a whole, pursuing a degree is the best route. A degree that provides comprehensive education, usually taking between 2 to 4 years to complete, is definitely worth considering. If you maybe lack the time or maybe resources or commitment for a degree, consider seeking out courses that teach the fundamentals. Even if you are 1 or 2 or 3 years into studying computer related stuff, or more specifically software. One popular and free option is CS50, the course itself. I think that in order to get the verification, there's an exam that maybe you need to pay. But in reality, the CS50 videos are out there and free in YouTube, which I also personally took to improve my fundamental knowledge. It helped me understand the underlying principles of programming, such as memory management, data structures, algorithms, and much more. If you are already familiar with the fundamentals but feel unsatisfied with how you're applying logic in your programs, the best approach is to practice the fundamentals, at least the logic and some math. This can be done through platforms like LeetCode, although I highly recommend utilizing NeetCode structure over LeetCode, at least on the beginning. So to end it off, this was my opinion. So please let me know your opinion on this subject in the comments. What I say is not the end all be all, nowhere near it, but I wanted to make this video because I see a lot of people on the daily, myself included, struggling with their jobs, projects, and goals because we lack the leverage that the fundamentals provide. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.